And I really do claim bisexuality.
I went back and forth about whether or not I was going to address this whole Betty Who situation because a lot of people have made a lot of videos already, but I think there's an opportunity here. So gather round, my fellow cis white bisexual women, and take a deep breath. This is a chance to learn how to be better members of the sapphic community. For those who don't know me, my name's Amanda, and I'm a public historian of queer history. I'm also a cis white bisexual woman who has, in the past, been in long-term relationships with cis straight men. I want to start out by saying that biphobia and bi-erasure, which is an element of biphobia and not a synonym for it, are real and something that our community has been struggling with for decades. But lesbians are not our oppressors, and the idea that they are comes from misunderstanding the lesbian separatist movement of the 1960s and 70s. Lesbian separatism is an incredibly complex topic, and I'd probably have to do a video series to really do it justice. But very basically, lesbianism was both a sexuality and a political movement in the 1960s. Political lesbianism was a specific type of radical feminism, where women chose to stop dating, marrying, and having sex with men and advocated for all other women to make that choice. Many political lesbians were sapphic, but many were also straight or ace. As a political movement, the goal was for women to withdraw to their own communities and interact with men as little as possible. Any woman who chose to remain in a romantic relationship with a man, or crucially, a trans woman, was ostracized by lesbian separatists. This is where we get the incorrect but pernicious queer cultural belief that lesbians kicked bisexuals out of the sapphic club in the 1970s and have been trying to keep us out of it ever since. As of 2023, bisexuals make up almost 60% of the LGBTQIA+ population in the United States. Gay men make up about 21% and lesbians only 14%. According to Pew Research, 5% of women in the United States identify as bisexual, whereas less than 2% identify as lesbians. The overwhelming majority of sapphics are bisexual, especially among the younger generations. And although we face unique and specific discrimination as bisexuals, lesbians are not the root of that. Patriarchy is. Betty Who seems like someone who has done a lot of soul searching about who she is and what she's about. But throughout the course of this interview, both she and the host Mal kept doubling down on stereotypes that are harmful to both bisexuals and lesbians.
There are people who activate me on both sides, and I'm like, wow, every time I think I see a cute boy, and I'm like, oh my God, whoa, that's so, my straight side is so activated. The same thing will happen on the other side.
This is a heteronormative trap. Bisexuality is not half anything. It is a whole sexuality. We're not gay when we're dating partners of the same gender or straight when we're dating partners of another gender. We are always completely bisexual. And this idea that bisexuality is a waiting room between straightness and gayness is one of the pillars of biphobia.
Identify as queer, bisexual, those are both words that feel like they make sense to me. I also think that I like the word queer because it feels more like lifestyle. And I think sexuality is if it's who you're trying to hook up with. Gender for me is about how you represent yourself physically, right? It's like, how is my outer shell letting other people know that this is who I am? Right. And I think a lot of queerness is about like, I was in high school and I had like a pink streak in my hair because I was like, I'm different.
This is two parts of the interview stitched together because it's a recurring theme that Betty Who embodies her queerness primarily as an aesthetic, which is a thing that white women love to do, picking and choosing fashion and lifestyle elements from marginalized cultures without any knowledge of or appreciation for the culture as a whole. Being queer is so much more than just being different. Let me read you a quote from this pamphlet that Queer Nation handed out at the 1990 New York City Pride Parade. Being queer means leading a different sort of life. It's not about the mainstream profit margins, patriotism, patriarchy, or being assimilated. It's not about executive directors, privilege, and elitism. It's about being on the margins, defining ourselves. It's about genderfuck and secrets, what's beneath the belt and deep inside the heart. It's about the night. Being queer is grassroots because we know that every one of us, every body, is a world of pleasure waiting to be explored. Every one of us is a world of infinite possibility.
I'm curious how you stay like really rooted in your queer identity.
I do think that it is hard to find a space for yourself when it's not about like proving it to go be out with people, to like hook up with women.
This right here is the root of so many problems between bisexuals and lesbians. You do not need to prove your sexuality to anyone. You are bisexual, period, even if you're in a relationship with a straight man, even if you have only ever dated cis straight men. As BJ Colangelo said in a video recently, you do not need a lesbian to sign your permission slip to be a bisexual. And believe me, I understand the insecurity. It took me until I was in my mid-30s to be able to say with my full chest that I am bisexual, that I am queer. Before I became a person who is literally professionally queer, I spent decades feeling like I was too straight to be queer and too queer to be straight, hovering uncomfortably on the margins of both communities. I even wrote about it in 2018. But that was a me problem, and I was the only one who could solve it.
because a huge part of queerness is like identifying yourself and putting yourself under like, you know, alphabet mafia. It's like, which one are you? And if you change that, I will never forget it, you know?
Right. No, Mal, why are you nodding your head in agreement? Queerness is not about choosing one rigid identity and then sticking with it forever. That is the opposite of queerness. Queerness is expansive. Also, when it's used in this context, alphabet mafia is a conservative dog whistle. I know that there are people on the internet right now working to reclaim it, but phrases like that hit differently when they're said by someone with as much privilege as Betty Who. In the context of that conversation, it reinforced multiple harmful stereotypes about LGBTQIA plus people.
It's funny that Renee Rapp is like, you'll never catch me dating a man. It's like, go off, queen. Like, I love that for you.
Right.
But I also hold space for her in 10 years if she goes, oops, I met the love of my life and it's this man. I didn't mean to.
My fellow bisexuals, if you don't want people to erase our sexuality, please don't do it to other people. Sexuality can be fluid, but it isn't for everyone. And to suggest that you're holding space for a lesbian to fall in love with a man is weird and lesbophobic. If Betty Who had to make a point about giving people the space to make different choices, then she should have referenced JoJo Siwa or Fletcher, who they were just discussing, and said that she is holding space for them if they choose to be in relationships with women again. That would have been the way to be both bi-affirming and to avoid insulting Renee Rapp, who had nothing to do with anything.
It shouldn't be illegal for you to fall in love. It's kind of like, now we've come so far that our community is so strong that now it's like a crime to be straight.
I know this is meant to be a joke, but it's not funny. It's tone deaf and privileged, and it makes me crazy that Mal just sat there and laughed in response. Queer people in the US have spent a century fighting and dying for the handful of rights that we've managed to scrape together, all of which are now in danger. Meanwhile, queer people around the world are hanging on by their fucking fingernails, and Betty Who has the audacity to sit on that couch and giggle about how uncool it is to be straight. My fellow bisexuals, we have got to do better. Acknowledging that we have privilege as cis women, as white women, as women who are assumed to be straight when we date men, does not make us less bisexual. To be trustworthy members of our queer and sapphic communities, we must be willing to decenter ourselves and to make sure that our righteous fury at the ways in which bisexuals are erased and ignored is pointed at the correct target and not at our fellow sapphics. That's it for today. I know this was a long one, so thank you if you stuck around for the whole thing. As always, more information, including sources and further reading, is available in the usual place.